Welcome back to Jess Saying. What does leadership look like when no one's watching? What if your greatest influence starts at home? Not behind a podium, but in pajamas, parenting through meltdowns and messes? Today I'm joined by Olaolu Ogunyemi, a Marine officer, author, father, and founder of Parent Child Connect. He's someone who knows firsthand how to rise above the noise and lead with purpose. We're talking about parenting in a loud world, overcoming the temptations to quit, and why real leadership always starts with service, not the spotlight. This conversation is about grit, grace, and God's given legacy. Let's dive in. Hey friends, welcome back. I'm here with Olaolu Ogunyemi. Did I say it right?
There it is. You got it. And we're number one for today. We'll take that.
I'm going to say it again though. Okay. Olaolu Ogunyemi.
Yep, that's it.
Is that right? Oh my God. Look at me. I'm rolling. He's an author, a Marine, a father, and founder of Parent Child Connect. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I've been looking forward to it, so I'm excited to get started.
What do they call you? Anything for short? Because your name is so freaking long. Excuse my language, but like it's so long. Do they call you anything for short?
Yeah, they call me Lou. I mean, I grew up in Ruston, Louisiana, so you know they didn't call me Olaolu Ogunyemi there, and that didn't happen. That didn't happen.
Can I call you Lou? Is that okay?
Absolutely, please.
Okay, Lou. Okay, thank you. You're like, that's my first Christmas present. Oh, by the way, so this is we're taping in November, but you're gonna see it like in June. So, but anywho, yeah. So welcome to the show. Thank you so much. Yeah, and I've been looking forward too because we had to postpone, and I was like, I kept seeing your name, and I was like, oh my God, the name is gonna kill me. But I was looking forward to hearing more about your story. And also, you're a Marine, and one of my best friends is a Marine. And I just want to say thank you right off the bat for your serve, because you're still a Marine, right? You're still active. Yeah.
I am active. That's
so
right.
thank you for your service. And it's not an easy job. I was going to be a Marine. We both went and tried to enlist, and she got in and I didn't. It's because of all of this they can't handle. No, I'm just teasing. Back in the day, it's a lot harder to get into the Marines than it is now. I'm just saying.
Yeah, we want everybody today. No, I'm just joking.
Yeah, today it don't matter. It don't matter. you know, been on medication your whole life. Come on, we'll take you. It's all right. It's all good.
Well, we got a high standard in the Marine Corps. You know, that's one of the things that we pride ourselves in, having a really high standard. So it's always cool. But you're right. I think it did get harder and harder.
Yeah, but I mean, you guys work really. I mean, first of all, you could be my baby because you are a youngster, and I'm like way your elder. So back in the day, it would have been like you were just baby. You were just a baby. No, but I'm digressing, getting off the point. So let's talk about your journey, your beginnings. Give us a little insight about you. I want to know growing up in a loving but imperfect home. Is that right?
Yeah. So I grew up in Ruston, Louisiana. I was the fifth of six children, and I consider myself the runt of the family. Probably why I'm the only one that joined the Marine Corps. I like to have the least
you're the
amount.
Baby?
I was the second to last. So I'm the
second to last.
My dad called it the knee baby. I don't know what that meant. I don't know if I'm the one that get kneed the most. I really don't know, but I was a mess.
I love it.
And yeah, the reason I call it imperfect it's not because I didn't have a loving home and they didn't do everything for me. But just like any home, I love calling it out because none of us are perfect. My home today is imperfect because we're all just a little bit dysfunctional. So, and I gave my parents hell. I mean, as a young man.
Yeah, I was a brat.
Yeah. I just trying to fit in, That's just how I was, So, and then I was a guy who was getting made fun of. I mean, again, my name is Olaolu Ogunyemi, right? And I grew up in Ruston, Louisiana. Immediately I stood out and I didn't appreciate that, right? I wanted to, fit in. So what's the best way to fit in, especially growing up in the area I was in? It was basically just getting in trouble, right? And, running with the wrong crowds and just doing some of everything just so you could be accepted in quotation marks.
You were a bad boy. No.
Yeah, I was. And the Marine Corps recruited me. So that says a lot about our recruiting. So I'm just joking. No federal crimes. So I didn't have to get any federal crimes.
You know what? 2 minutes talking to you. Okay. You're a bright person, bright young man. 2 minutes talking to you. They would love to have that. This is what they live for is people like you for sure. Like,
Yeah, they
Just
had to
saying.
refine me a little bit. I was a little rough around the edges, especially because I joined as an officer, right? And so initially I was going to go enlisted and then go to the OCS route afterwards. But it was just a lot of things that weren't working out. And then at one point I was just like, all right, you know what? Maybe the man upstairs was trying to give me a sign. So let me just go straight to OCS. And my enlisted contract, literally, they just got rid of it and sent me straight to OCS. And then, yeah, I was a little rough. It's so bad that I actually almost got in a fight on graduation day. And yeah, that's how crazy it was. And the only reason I didn't get into a fight, and it's the most dumb reason, but the only reason is because a guy literally looked me in the face. He grabbed me. He's like, dude, your family is already here. All we're doing is lining up. We're gonna go walk across, march across there, do our graduation, and then you go with your family. Don't ruin that. And I'm like, all right,
Pull your
man.
shit together,
Yeah,
officer.
exactly. Yeah. Would you believe it or not, the reason I was doing it is because a guy insulted us. He said that we weren't doing our jobs well in a more colorful way. And I wanted to show him that that's not how we talk to each other. But I didn't know at the time because the only Marines I met were like Vietnam era, except the recruiter, like Vietnam era guys. They're like, yeah, you just take them out back in the tree line and you'll deal with your situation. And so that's what I'm thinking. I'm like, oh, you're gonna disrespect me? I'm gonna deal with you right now, and then we'll go graduate with little blood marks on our face, and we'll be best friends later.
Yeah.
Little did I know, I would have been kicked out on that day. But yeah, that's just how it was, and so it was one of the things that my parents did a great job of, like, just keeping me in check, right? I think there was many times that my life could have gone in completely opposite direction had they just said, you know what, I'm done, we're done, and they really didn't. And quite honestly, it wasn't just them; it was the community of folks, my coaches. I had an assistant principal who had a referral that she actually took and put in her desk drawer and said, I could suspend you for this. And quite honestly, if I did that today, I would have had an assault charge on my record, to be honest with you.
Mm.
But she was like, I can suspend you for this, put it in her desk drawer. And she said, you know what? Sorry, kick you out of school, not suspend. But she said, you know what? I'm gonna give you another chance. And that was like the last thing I needed. And she sort of, it was funny, full circle. She was the one that invited me back to come talk to the kids. And it was just fun to see
Aw.
that full circle moment. But that was my upbringing. It was just a lot of chaos. It's very chaotic, mostly by me, created by me, but definitely a loving family who kept me in control and kept never gave up on me.
Yeah, I mean, that teacher, what a blessing that was for you. I mean, but you know what? God does things for you. He does things for you, and I believe in guardian angels or somebody going that she needs a little extra attention. like like Jessica needs a little help here. I found myself lost. I tell this story a lot, but I was leaving Utah trying to go to California. I ended up in Idaho. And I get really terribly lost everywhere I go. So I mean, I took the right freeway. I just went the wrong direction.
Yep.
And so I just saying, like, I got lost in the middle of nowhere with no gasoline in 1992 or 91, and I ended up back at home, but it was by the grace of God that I was found. And all the things that happened to me along that trip were like made me see that like God does exist. There's little mini miracles sometimes, and maybe that just shoving that piece of paper into the drawer was your little mini miracle. It was that would put your trajectory of your life going in a different direction had, like you said, had she just processed it. So
Oh, yeah,
bless
absolutely.
that lady.
Yeah, we see it all the time though. That's like
Yeah.
those moments that don't exist for other young men. I can tell you with confidence, the guys I was hanging out with, either they're in prison today or they just got out. It's just a cyclical thing for them. So that the
Mm,
trajectory of their lives depend
man.
on what people invest in. That's why everything I do is about community and knowing that you could be the difference between somebody's
See,
lifelong journey.
that's the whole thing. God knew you were going to take this path. He needed
Hmm.
somebody. He needed you. You're a warrior for him, so he needed you. And the world needs you to be doing what you're doing right now, and that is why you were led this way. Can I ask you what chose you the path of service? I mean, besides like kind of falling down, and I mean, what was like the clincher?
Yeah, so a few things. Number one, I believe that a bit of a rebel spirit inside of me, because I wanted to join, but I also was fairly intelligent. I was a salutatorian in my class, and I was a guy who ended up getting a corporate, internship, and all those things were lined up for me. I actually worked at Tyson for a couple of years before I went active duty. But
I
I
love
just
their chicken. Oh,
Oh, that I
sorry.
love Tyson as a company, or at least I did in 2012, 13. I haven't been there in a long time. But it was one of those things that, I was sitting in my bedroom in college. I think I was a sophomore at the time. And I'm just like, you know what? Commercial came on. I was like, man, I want to join the Marine Corps. And so I decided I was going to join. Nobody could stop me. It's literally what I said. Nobody could stop me from doing what I want to do. And I went ahead and joined. And the rest is history. It's just like, it was one of those things that I just felt called to do. It's like you see something. I saw the commercials. Of course, I seen the movies and all those things. And you sort of grow up watching them, and you're almost in a way sort of idolize them. It's like, man, those are my heroes. These guys are out there doing the
I
things
know that
that I would
it's
love to
less and
do.
less nowadays. It's less and less. I mean, like I watched Stripes and I was like, I want to be in that. I want to be doing that, or Taps or whatever,
Hmm.
Platoon. I mean, you idolize them, and you wanted when you were younger, you wanted to be that person, and also the security of knowing that you have a paycheck. And because, when you have to start adulting when you're young, you start thinking like, oh my God, how am I going to live outside of, mom and dad's boobs? How am I going to live off the tit of the parents? And you have to start thinking of adulting, and it gets to be like, how am I going to do that? Like, I couch surfed a little bit. I was lucky that I had friends that said, no, you stay as long as you needed to. And I was still sleeping when I did have a place to put my bed, I was still sleeping on the bunk bed that I had as a kid. So, adulting when you're young and you're not knowing security, that is very enticing. And I'm sure they're getting paid a lot more than were when I was 19 years old. And so, although, shit's more expensive now. I mean, crap. $20 an hour for like working at Taco Bell. Come on now. I mean, that's just insane. In California, at least, everybody makes like $20 an hour for minimum wage. It's insane. I know. It's like, how can I afford to live here? I don't know. I can barely afford it. Like, we better hurry up because I can't afford the internet. No, I'm just teasing. No, I'm just messing with you.
Yeah,
It's a struggle.
yeah, I
Anyways,
know it.
adulting is hard, so it has to be enticing, the money and everything too, and the security that it gives. Was there any like buddy that you had like in boot camp or as a young Marine that you looked up to, maybe as a in rank, in the higher rank than you, or maybe even as somebody in the same rank as you that you looked up to when you were starting off?
But yeah, so the first person I looked up to in the Marine Corps, number one was my recruiter, because he did something that I think it was just quite honestly as a great recruiting or sales tactic. But he presented the Marine Corps to me as a college. I mean, outside looking in, or sorry, inside looking out. Now I know I was a pretty decent candidate, and he wasn't going to turn me around. But in
Right.
reality, when he came in, he told me about the Marine Corps. He sold the opportunity to me. He like really made it purposeful, and he didn't sugarcoat anything. He's an infantryman. He's out now, but
He's
he's
like,
an
it's gonna
infantryman.
suck. TP sucks. You're gonna have to do it
Right.
though.
He did. I mean, he told the truth. It was crazy because I hear all these recruiting stories and I'm like, I can't relate, man. Sergeant Nash just sort of kept it real with me. And then I had another guy, he was the gunnery sergeant over the RS and St. RSS. And same thing. They just kept it real with you. And they just brought me in as a family. But right before I signed my first contract, Sergeant Nash told me something. He's like, yeah, he's working through all these things. And then he's like, and if we select you, and that's when he got me. He got me right there because I said,
Like,
"Oh man,
we may not want you. No,
yeah,
like you think
he,
you're all this hot thing, but we may not want you. So, like, I know
yeah."
what that's like.
And he taught me a lesson there, and I still look up to it to this day. And he's been long out of the Marine Corps, probably shoot. I mean, I think he got out in like 2011, but I still look up to him, still connected on Facebook. But the reason I respect that is because what he was doing, number one, is he was sort of picking at my competitive spirit that he knew I had. So as soon as he said that, he knew he had me. But number two, more importantly, he was teaching me the lesson of humility. And that's what extended on to General Bailey, who actually commissioned me in the Marine Corps. Now, this guy was a two-star general, and I'm a brand new guy. I knew nothing about the Marine Corps. The only Marines I knew before I got in were, Gunny Ermy from Full Metal Jacket and Major Payne. Those are my two Marines that I knew. And so, and those are the only
So
Marines
you
I knew.
probably didn't watch Stripes, or did you ever watch Taps? Have you never
I did
seen it?
watch Taps. Yes, I did watch
Okay.
that, but I feel like
It's a good movie.
yeah, I feel like I
That
didn't
has
watch
Tom
that one
Cruise.
until
It has
after.
everybody in it.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
absolutely.
got Sean Penn, and I want to see it now that Donna, we're talking about it. I think I'm gonna watch it tonight. Just saying.
That is a good one.
Um, it is a good one. Stripes is a little bit more funnier. I don't know if you've ever seen it, but It's older 80s. Okay. I'm a Gen Xer. So this general, talk a little bit more. You were going into it and I interrupted you. Of
No, you're fine.
course.
Yeah, General Bailey. So he came. Yeah, he told me we met at this leadership panel, which again I felt like I was out of my league, but I was doing some community service in college and my fraternity, and they invited me to this leadership panel. And General Bailey's there. They have like the leader, the president of NAACP in New Orleans, like the youngest female judge in New Orleans, and all these other people. And then there's me, like on the very end. I'm like, how did I get up here? But General Bailey found out that I had just finished OCS, and he came to me. He's like, "Hey, I want you to stay in contact with me." And this is my thought was like, man, this guy is clearly like he's a super senior guy in the Marine Corps, and he's coming to talk to this guy who hadn't even commissioned in the Marine Corps yet. But then I kept in contact, like he said, and then he told me, I was like, hey, I'm going to be graduating from Grambling State University, blah, blah, blah. And I'm going to commission on that same day. And he was like, well, if you invite me as your commissioning officer, I would love to come. And I'm like, whoa, wow. And so I sent an email. Now I know, of course, as a more senior officer now, but at the time, I didn't know the formal way to invite a general officer. So I just sent him an email and he agreed to come. And the poor guy who was responsible for me, we're still a mentor and a friend of mine. He still talks about that to this day. And he's like, man, you got me beat up because this general officer's coming and they did nothing to actually do all the formalities to prep him, but he had already committed to it.
Oh.
And that was a cool thing. So he actually came,
Well, who
he
do you go
followed through
well,
on it.
what do you do? Okay, so who do you do? You go through his assistant or his under people so that they can get things okay. I see what you're
That's right.
saying. Like they needed to have a little bit pomp and circumstance and you just called them over like for lunch.
And he definitely, and that was what it is. He showed up, he booked his flight, he had everything going. He put on his calendar and said, hey guys, I'm going down to Grambling State University. I'm gonna do a commissioning, blah, blah, blah. And it was actually Marine Corps Recruiting Command was making this a big event too. And his, I believe his chief of staff, who's like a full bird
It's a
colonel.
general, for F's
Yeah,
sake.
that's exactly right.
This isn't a master sergeant or this is like the head up, a
Yeah.
general. That's crazy.
And he showed
And you're
up
like, yeah,
and
he's my buddy. Yeah,
yeah.
we're friends. I'm like, I met him not too long ago.
They were first name basis. The funny thing is we're not first name basis. We never were.
I emailed him. I emailed him and he's coming.
Yeah, so we're actually fraternity brothers too. But the funny thing is, he
Um,
told me to send him an invitation. And so I had my brother, who was doing graphic design in college at the time, actually create me a flyer. And that's what I sent to him. Now, what I learned later on is that there's actually like a formal document that you send to him. It's like on this real nice paper, and it's like a real nice thing that a lot of formalities.
oh,
It goes through his whole staff. They were able to clear the schedule. There's a lot of things. So yeah, you don't just have
he
some
has to
college
have a
student emailing.
memento for his keepsake, by the way. You have to make it all pretty, and then he puts it in his little thing and it's calligraphy, and then I'm
Hmm.
just teasing.
Well,
All the things that I've done.
I mean, that is actually probably that formal. Yeah, it was very funny because again, this guy, poor guy, he's down in Baton Rouge and he just gets an earful all the way from DC. But what General Bailey taught me is exactly what Sergeant Nash was teaching me. It's all about humility, man. If he's going to take his time, he obviously had plenty of things he could have been doing. He was actually in charge of First Marine Division, which is one of the biggest. That's one of the biggest jobs that you can have in the Marine Corps, and he had just finished that one. And he's going on to DC and he's doing some big things. And here he is showing up for this guy graduated from Grambling State University that he met one time. And so that was just a lesson I learned. And really it just extended to that, welcoming in of this young man who's just like, sort of wayward, if you will. He doesn't know anything about the Marine Corps, but they're still welcoming you in with open arms. And it was just
There's
amazing.
something about you. I know you might have imposter syndrome and all that because that happens in like everybody. But he saw something in you and wanted to mentor, wanted to be there for you. And so that's a positive thing for you because he could read people and he could see something special in you. And so it was a gift to him, but it's also a gift to you. It's God's plan. Just saying. So I'm so sorry. I messed the flow of your whole thing. So, okay. We left off. Okay, so now he came to the event, and did it all turn out okay, and everything went
But
good?
yeah,
And
it turned out perfectly. They gave him all the honors and things that come with being a general officer. But more importantly, he taught me even afterwards. So he basically immediately took off his uniform, and next thing you know, I look over and the general's like over there teaching my nephew, who's now at Berkeley, playing the saxophone, but he's teaching him how to play a song on the piano. And then we do our fraternity thing. Now I didn't bring a change of clothes because I'm like, well, I was planning on being in my dress blues, until I go home and change.
Yeah.
And so my fraternity's doing their thing for all the graduates. And I'm like just standing off to the side. And a few of them are looking at me like, why is he just standing there? Then they realize, oh, there's a general officer here. He's trying to, he doesn't know how to respond to this. And the general yells, he's like, hey, what are you doing, man? Get over here. And it was just one of those, again, it's that idea of him just saying that, yeah, he's done phenomenal things throughout his career. He had a phenomenal 30 plus year career in the Marine Corps. And I think he was probably already over 30 by the time I met him. But here he is, again, just humbling himself to come and work alongside and bring me in. And again, that's just the lesson I learned. That was just a beautiful lesson in extending your arms to people and welcoming them in. And I had that opportunity. Same thing happened. It was literally 10 years almost to the date where this young man was in high school, and he was telling his mom all these things that he wanted to do. His mom calls one of my frat brothers who was in the army, and he calls me. He's like, hey, can you talk to this guy? And I'll call him, and he just sounded just like me. And I just thought it was a real cool thing to see that full circle moment. So to your point, when you invest in somebody else, I'm sure General Bailey knew this, and I didn't know it at the time, but when he was investing in me, he knew good and well that there's going to be another guy who's going to be doing the same thing that I'm doing. Then he ended up applying for the scholarship. He got the NROTC scholarship. He got all these things based upon our conversation. He actually trusted my word, but it's all because
Oh,
you bring him in and you just treat him like family. So it's just a
and
beautiful
he's
thing.
gonna come. And he's gonna remember you, and he's gonna start a foundation. He's gonna say, "This is what it started for me." No, I'm just teasing. So you founded Parent Child Connect. Tell me a little bit about what birthed that.
Yeah, so it came from a couple of things. Number one, I want to be able to connect with my own children. I was a young, very young parent. If you think I'm young now, which I am, then you would imagine when I graduated from college, I was 22 years old, married with a 3-year old by the time I graduated. So yeah, I was very, very young parent. And the only thing I knew that I could do was, be there for my daughter, my oldest daughter. And it's like, yeah, you got to be there. You got to be there, physically there. And so I was doing everything. And I was just like, just really trying to do whatever she wanted. I was there trying to, follow her around and make sure she knows that I'm there. But then I started thinking there's more to it than that. There's more to like being a parent than just being physically there and then chasing them around and getting them whatever they want. That's exhausting. And so I started thinking about this idea of finding ways to connect. And so for me, I flashed back to when my mom was connected with us and how we have a strong bond with our mom. It was really through story time. Like she really brings stories to life. She's a storyteller. And so when she's, reading these stories like Dr. Seuss, all those, Marilyn Sattler, who's a good friend of mine now, but all these people that, she's reading and just bringing these stories to life and just establishing that communication. Even to this day, we still go to our mom and just have open heart conversations because of that connection.
Right.
And so I thought about that and I'm like, okay, well, I need to do something like that for my kids. And so I just thought, why don't I try writing a book? The same way I joined the Marine Corps, I'm like, hey, why not? I'll just try it. And when I started writing the first book, it's called Crow from the Shadow. I decided, I was like, you know what? Maybe I should just, publish it. I was going to find a way to try to publish it for free and print it and just bring it home and read it with the kids. And then when I went through the publishing process, which was long and a lot of lessons learned, when I went through the
Yeah.
publishing
Did you
process,
do like with a publisher, or did you do self-publishing?
I did self-publishing. I did the Amazon Kindle Direct program, and I did Ingram Spark were the two that I used.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah. So when I went through that process, it was a little bit it was sort of stressful. But then after I finished and I start, going through the motion of reading, I was like, man, you know what? There's probably some other dad out there who is probably young and same thing. He's like, he probably will love this book. So I was like, why don't I just, publish it
Tell me
and
what
see
the
what
book's
happens?
about.
So the first
What's the
book is
age
called
of the book?
Yeah, so ages, I usually tell people it's about 5 to 9 is the age for Crow from the Shadow and Billy Dipper's Time to Shine for that matter. But those two books they're all rhyming stories, but those two have a little bit more of a mature theme. And the idea behind the Parent Child Connect series is that parents or teachers or mentors, whoever's the adult, is sitting down with children and reading with them. It's just so you establish that connection, and hopefully with fun and memorable experiences, you're able to have a connection that lasts beyond just that moment in story time, and that's the plan. Crow from the Shadow was the first book I created, and really that came behind, like, it was really my story. It's, I grew up through insecurities. I had this quote unquote shadow, which I loosely define as anything that tells you that you cannot do or you cannot be what you want to be. And so I have this shadow in my life that I'm like, okay, well, I have now learned to defy that shadow by just straight up saying that the shadow is wrong, or just saying that, okay, no matter what the shadow says, I'm going to do it. And that's what Crow from the Shadow is all about. It's really talking about the crow, who's the main character in the story. And there's a reason I chose a crow. But the main character's story, he just walks through the story saying that, I want to do this, but the shadow says at this. And then he finally gets to the end and says, only one can determine my future. That one is me. But that's after he realizes the shadow's just been lying and telling untruths the entire time. So that's really what Crow from the Shadow is about. Billy Dipper's Time to Shine is a book about self worth. So all these books are designed to bring out some kind of theme and to give the parents or an adult an opportunity to just sit down with children and have that moment and real conversation.
How long is your first Crow from the Shadows? How long is that book? Is it like a is it like a chapter book that you
Oh
have
no.
to read, or is it
I
just
mean,
like a quick book?
it's a quick
Let's
book.
see the
It's
cover.
yeah, that's what I was about to pull up. Yeah, so Crow from the Shadow, it's about, let me make sure I zoom out a little bit. I'm sorry. It's about 25 pages, I think, 30 pages. Let's make sure. But yeah, it's a pretty short book. The idea
That's not
again is
bad.
just to give people a just to give them an opportunity to sit down with their children. It's about 30 pages. And the cool thing that I love about Crow from the Shadow is it and Billy Dipper's Time to Shine is they have continue the conversation questions in the back. Which that means that if you have something, that you want to talk to the child about, or you're trying to figure out how do you go somewhere with the story, you have questions that you can ask them, like
Yeah.
who is the shadow? What is the shadow for
Like, this
you?
is
Or
good for preschool. Like, this is good for classrooms and preschools,
Mhm.
and not just parents connecting, but teachers connecting too, because sometimes you can't get the parents to do the reading. And so the teacher who spends the 8 hours a day with the kids are the ones that are going to, and then so the questions in the back, help them get engaged and ask, Billy, who doesn't look like he's paying attention, you need to ask him, like, ask my question and see if he absorbed what you were talking about. And also it helps with reading comprehension, and you can see if they're comprehending the main idea of the story and all of that too. But I would use this book in my preschool because I used to own a preschool center. So I would have this book in every library. I could tell you that right now. So, okay. So, I don't know why I'm like, I have all these questions and I can't think of which one I want to ask first. So, okay. So you kind of looked at parenting, as like a leadership position, right? Like, okay. So why? So how is that? How do you bridge them two together?
Yeah, so what I realize is that the children are going to be influenced by you. They're around you the most, and they're always going to pull things from you. But the cool thing and the scary thing about that is that your home is the only place that you're truly your authentic self. That means they don't get a break from who you are, right? They get to see you raw and unfiltered, which is a cool thing because that means you get to refine who you are on a molecular level, on a core level. You get to refine the person you are and improve that person, because when you see the symptoms of stuff, you're like, okay, I need to work on that and improve myself. And that helps you when you leave the house and go lead in the workplace and corporate or wherever you work. Whereas the other side of it, obviously, is because you're being your authentic self. It's easy for them to see when you're teaching something and not necessarily living it out. And so those are the kind of things that we always try to encourage children or encourage parents about. It's like, hey, the cool thing is, like, you are leading your children, you're influencing your children, and they're learning a lot from you, which is a good thing if you make it a good thing. If you don't make it a good thing, if you're not really paying attention, you're not intentional about, parenting and learning, then, it's going to be a little rough.
Yeah, parenting with purpose is what it
Hmm.
should be.
That's exactly
Like,
right.
you know what I mean? Emotionally, spiritually, you know. And yeah, I agree. I agree. Okay, so let's I hear you talk a little bit about your insecurities, and I was talking about like imposter syndrome because I too, here I am, I'm on a podcast, and I'm not a podcaster. I mean, I guess I am now. I wrote a book and I'm like, I'm not an author. Well, I guess I am. But I mean, like, those are things that you totally think. Like, when I wrote my book, I'm like, am I an author now? It got published. Like, does that make me an author? Can I put that on my LinkedIn? Like, and I'm starting to write another book and I'm like, does that make me a novelist? Can I say that now? No, I don't know. But okay, so through failures and insecurities and lessons, my dad always says life is nothing but lessons learned or whatever. And then from military, you have all of those. And then with faith, right? Because you're a faithful person. Um, how did you use all of with the military and your faith and lessons you learned from your childhood with your parents and all your siblings? Man, you have a lot of siblings. I thought I had four. We had four. I thought I had a lot, but no, six is a grip. Um, um, and I totally lost my train of thought. How I was going to ask how I was going to frame this, but with all of those, how did you use it as? I mean, did you use it like as your compass in like how you framed and your how you framed parent-child connect? Put it that
Oh
way,
yeah, that's a
and your
great
books.
question. Yeah, so
Oh,
that's a
I'm
phenomenal
glad you
question.
liked it because I
Yeah,
couldn't get to the point.
I mean,
Like I
because I mean, once you got there, I started reading where you're going with it, but that's awesome. Because I want to start with that
sorry.
imposter syndrome. I mean, because you know that does grow from an area of insecurity as a child, and a lot of times we like to pretend that, and once we overcome our insecurities as a child, that's it. We defeated them, and now we move on. And that's even like almost the way I just presented Crow from the Shadow. But in reality, imposter syndrome grows is just an adult version, if you will, of our insecurities. And the way that I
Because we're
look at
unsure about ourselves.
that's exactly right.
It
Hmm.
it's everything is overwhelming, and, like, adulting is hard work.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Well, part of it is, and the reason I had to learn to grow through imposter syndrome, because I'm just like you, and I remember you telling me you're a successful business owner and all these wonderful things that you've done. But I've also gone through this imposter syndrome when I'm talking about, you know, same thing. I wrote three children's books, and I've had the opportunity to speak internationally with, you know, with children.
Bestsellers, they're award-winning,
They
like,
are.
award-winning books.
That's
Like,
exactly
"Hello,
right.
people."
But you know what? I still be like, yeah, that's I mean, dude, you're not even like what are you even like what are you talking about? Like, are you truly like one of those authors that and it's crazy. It is crazy. But the way that we had to start doing it, this is the to answer your question about how I use all these things to build parent-child connect, is number one, is I realize that imposter syndrome is just it's just something that we all have to learn how to grow through. And the main thing that I tell people is like you are qualified. Every last one of us brings a value to the people around us and that value to earth. And a lot of times we don't realize that, and we don't live that out. No matter how much value we're truly providing to people, like we literally could be providing things and getting feedback from parents all over the place and still say that, oh, well, you know, I just need to get, if I had this amount, and we start measuring ourselves in accordance with
I like the
somebody
amount of
else.
money that we made on the book
Hmm.
or how much like how many people are listening to my podcast or whatever, you know what I'm saying? Like I'm like, do people even I mean, am I obnoxious? You know, my stepdaughter's mom said that I had a voice that drove her nuts. Like she hated my voice. And I thought to myself, are everybody gonna hate my voice? Like my stepdaughter's mom, well, she's not very nice to me, but I was like, so she was in my head, you know, like, is everybody gonna hate the way I
Hmm.
sound? Do I sound retarded? I don't know. I mean, not that word is not a very nice word, but you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
The way like
Yeah.
I still to this day, I'm like, am I a good mom? I don't know. My kids aren't turning out very good, but I guess I love them enough. I guess you just love them as much as you can, and hopefully they turn out okay. I'm an imposter mother. No, I'm just teasing.
Well,
But
that's
why lead? Well, go ahead, keep
mhm.
going.
Yeah, that's sorry to cut you off. That's a real feeling though. And I love that you're calling it out there. And to be honest with you, I love the transparency because it's one of the things that again, when we don't call it out and we don't like actually talk about it, a lot of people don't know how to relate. And that's the strength of your podcast. That's the strength of like you like in the moment you're like explaining why by your actions. Imposter syndrome is just that. It's a syndrome, something that we shouldn't even believe in, because you are going
Right.
to be able to reach people and connect with people on a level that nobody else can. Because people aren't being just real on every podcast. I can assure you of that. People aren't being transparent on. They're not being down to earth. There's a lot of podcasts out there where people are just, you know, talking about different things and they connect with different people. And that's one of the biggest things that I learned. And I learned that because in my early days as an author, as a children's book author, one of the first questions I got is, "What qualifies you?" And this is during a podcast or an interview, and it was like a very early question, and I was like, "Man, that's a great question." I think I stumbled my way through it by talking about, you know, how I felt like I was a dad who
Well,
just wanted
you
to
were
connect.
a child one time.
Yeah.
Hello, that everybody is qualified because they've
Hmm.
once been a kid. Like, hello,
Hmm.
I'm just saying.
And your qualifications are also based on the people that you can reach. Like you, I know for a fact that you can reach people that I would never reach, and vice versa. And so that's your qualifications right there. And if there's nothing else, you can reach at least one person. And as you talked about earlier with the young man I was talking to, he could start a foundation. We sort of joked about that, but he could start a foundation that now feeds in people who are now getting scholarships or things of that nature. And that's all comes from that one person just making that impact. So that's what Parent
Like the
Child Connect's
six
all about.
degrees, like 6 degrees to separate, like Kevin Bacon, whatever that book was
Yeah,
about. That is so freaking true. Like, I have 6 degrees to Oprah Winfrey. Like I can tell you, like I'm just saying that I can Oprah Winfrey myself. 6 degrees to Oprah Winfrey. I mean, who could say that? And I'm just saying, like, yeah, we're all kind of connected in a small little way. And what we touch is like a ripple, like you drop in that little in the pond, the little drip into the pond, and all the little waves, they affect all the life underneath, whether it be a spider on top of the water or a fly or a bug or a fish or whatever. It's all intertwined.
yeah. It's like the weird
um,
movie, The Butterfly Effect by with Ashton Kutcher.
yes. Oh my God. I love that movie. That's such a
It caught
great
me off
movie.
guard because I was an Ashton Kutcher fan and watched Dude, Where's My Car and all those movies and then whatever the show is that he had. And then he came out with that movie and I was
Yeah.
surprised by it. But it
Yeah.
was a great movie.
It was a good movie. He
Still
did good
weird.
in there. I mean, like,
He did.
so it is a great movie, and there's the spinoffs one is great. But yeah, I've seen that movie like 3 or 4 times. I see movies over and over and over again. I can't help it. I love movies. I'll watch them over and over again. It does not matter. My husband's like, didn't we see this before? I'm like, yes, but do you remember any of it? And he'll be like, no. And I'm like, but I do. It doesn't matter. We'll keep watching it. He won't remember because he'll be on his phone or he'll fall asleep. Usually, every
That's
movie
me.
we've ever seen, he freaking falls asleep.
That's me.
And so that's why I watch it over and over again, because you're missing the good parts. You slept through the good parts last time. I'm just saying. Oh, I'm sorry. I have all these questions that I wanted to ask you because I'm loving our conversation, by the way.
Absolutely.
Okay, so here's a question I have written, and I just hurt my back just by moving. Sorry. Um, so you would know what this means, but everybody out there probably won't. But why leading last creates the most lasting impact?
Yeah, so that's one of my favorite questions because lead last
Okay.
is one of the things I came up with. It's obviously a little counterintuitive, and in most cases, a lot of us don't actually lead last. So it's really a double entendre, is what I tell people. The first meaning is there's before you can effectively lead somebody, there's a lot of things that you need to do. One is get to know yourself, understand, as we already talked about, what insecurities you have and the things that really help that really inform your decisions. Secondly, you got to get to know the people who you're going to lead. You can't just start walking around leading someone if you don't truly understand the people and the organization in which you're leading. So that's a couple of things you have to know. And of course, you have to get an understanding of the culture or where you are. So those things have to happen before you can be an effective leader. And then the second thing, and as is really one of my favorite parts about it, is that you have to be able to invest in others because we were really taught to come into the room and be the loudest voice, and that's something especially as a young Marine officer, it's like you were hired to be in charge, right? You come in the room, you're the loudest, you got to be in front. And really, we sometimes we forget because a lot of times we're hired to be leaders. They pay us a lot of money to lead, and so we just want to give everybody our opinion. But in some cases, we forget that sometimes it's about resourcing others, and that's what leadership truly is. It's about finding ways to influence and
Delegating.
resource others.
Okay, so let me just rewind, unpack a little bit what you just said. So the first one, get to know like the people you're leading, and which involves, and this is 6 degrees to Oprah Winfrey, and I'm gonna tell you it's so funny how it all relates. Okay, so I worked at the old spaghetti factory in Fresno, and they were just opening the doors, and at the time it was like 1993 or something, and Sid something Dustin, I think his name was the name of the owner, old man and his wife came to the store because it was opening. It was going to be, we were all training and stuff, and they were training us how to do everything. And one thing that they used to do with their managers is they used to make the managers do every single role in the whole place. So you had to do the bartending, the bussers, the waitress, the cook, the line cook, all the things that you had to do because you're going to manage them. You have to live in their shoes to see. And they made them a 1 week in every role. And one of the ladies was managers. She was a black lady. And so she went on Oprah Winfrey, because they were, I think it was geared around women in the workforce. And so she went on Oprah. So there's my 6 degrees. So now you know me, and now you know somebody that knows somebody that went on Oprah Winfrey.
Yes. That's
Just
what I'm
saying.
talking about. So now we need to just connect. We just go on Oprah Winfrey the next time we get an opportunity. That's our next call. Go talk to her.
I'm just saying. I'm just saying. So what I'm saying is, though, the people of the establishment needed to learn to be in the shoes of everybody that they were going to manage, and understand everybody, and understand what it was going to take to do that role. And the same thing I learned. I took that with me when I started my business, and I would get down and with the kids on the floor, and I would do the work that the teachers are doing, and I let the teachers see that it's not beneath me to do that work. So that's one thing that I would do when you know. And then the second part, what was the second part? I forget because I was so involved with my own story.
Yeah.
The
No, that's beautiful. So it is getting to know yourself and get to know others. And then, of course, learning how to influence others instead of being the loudest voice in the room. And
Yes. Okay. So that one, I was going to tell you, the loudest one in the room, it's hard for me because I'm a strong woman. And I was talking about this in one of my last podcasts, but she was saying, like, why do women always feel like they have to apologize for being so loud and so boisterous? And so it's because we were meant to believe that, it's not our place to be that person. But I am a loud, strong, individual person, and I will be the loudest in the room. But it is so important, like you said, to kind of sit back and I don't know. You don't have to be the one in charge of it all. You can delegate. You can use your resources. You know what I mean? But it's like something that I take with me, because when I go into my TV station or wherever it is I'm working, I have to sometimes remind myself, like, you don't have to be the loudest. You don't have to be. You can take it down a notch, Jessica. It's just hard because I'm just all the time. Um, but that's just me in a nutshell.
no,
Anywho,
that's good though,
thank you for
because
explaining that.
no, I appreciate that story and that
Yeah.
transparency because, and I want to hinge on that just a little bit because especially with women, every time I've worked with women in leadership positions, they have that same tension. It's that if they, in a way, take that back role and try to be a servant leader, in many cases, there have been times where they've been shoved to the side. It's like, okay, well, good, you stay back there, and somebody who's not even close to as qualified steps up and starts running their mouths, and it is a tough balance. And I think that's something that as a strong woman, that's something again that you can teach to other people how to do, because it is a skill. It's a learned skill, and you can't do it if you do it one way or the other. It's just so much easier to fall in one other category. And that was one of the things that I've heard in the Marine Corps, and a lot of times we're trying to get away from it, quite honestly. But one of the things that they teach, they were telling women, I know for a fact they were telling us at boot camp, that the only way you're going to do well as a Marine is you're going to be a let's just call her a nagger, or you're going to be a very promiscuous woman. And that's how they were teaching them in early training, to make a way for themselves and make a career for themselves. And I promise you that was actually being said. And those are things that we're
Like, you're
trying
gonna
to get away
use your
from.
looks to get what you want, or you're gonna be a ball crusher.
Yeah. But how do you deal with that tension though? Because that's something I believe that's something we can learn from. How do you deal with that tension? Because yes, you want to make sure you take a step back and make sure you're not over extending yourself on every project, or micromanaging or things of that nature. But you also don't want to be, fall into somebody else's stereotypical role of what they think you should do and then push you to the side. And now you're watching somebody who's not even qualified at least. So how do you, like, what's the balance there? How do you do that? Sorry to flip the question. It's like Uno reverse.
No, it's just so true though. But like, okay, so now, okay, here's me. I'm not 19 anymore, and I can't use my feminine wiles to get what I want anymore. They're just like, it ain't working. What you got here is not happening. So I don't know. I don't know how to answer that question, to be honest with you. I don't know.
It's
That's
good.
just hard. It's a
Yeah.
balance. And it's like, you know what it does take too? It takes a man to also understand that like times are changing and women are in the workforce. They have been for a long time. And you have to look at the value of everybody that works with you or works for you, because everybody's different and unique. And a lot of times a woman's perspective is the right one. I'm just saying. No, I'm just messing with you.
Well, it's my wife and mom
It's all
tell me to, so I've gone to believe it now at this point.
happy wife, happy life.
But I think that's an important
Cheaper to
term there.
keep
That's
her.
perfect. That's
My
true.
husband said, cheaper to keep her.
That is
That's his
true.
motto. 28 years though we've been together. Come on. I always say that almost every podcast, but it's so true. It's the hardest thing.
Beautiful.
That's the hardest relationship to maintain is a marriage, but now it just seems so easy. I'm on autopilot. But maybe I shouldn't be on auto. I don't know. Maybe I need to do more. This is too much transparency. How about let's talk about raising confident, passionate kids, okay? Helping kids hear the right voice, right? Instead of like what you were happening when you were a youngster, you were, letting some people probably not the best the best voice, itching in your ear. They always say you have the devil and the angel like on your shoulders or whatever. You got to listen to the right voice. So tell me a little bit about that. What do you think about that?
Yeah, so a couple of things. So number one, you got to get into their space because unlike us, even myself, I didn't have my first cell phone until I was, I think, a senior in high school, and even then, I had to pay. Like I can call singular to singular free, and I could call for free after 9 p.m. But text messages cost 10 cents, and then internet was like 10 cents a minute or something like that, or you use all your minutes, right? So
They were a dollar when cell phones first started. It was a dollar a text message or a dollar a call.
right. And it's
Crazy.
those things are like when I think about that, I'm like, that was high school for me, and how fast it evolved is insane. And the only other option was like dial-up internet, which is pretty slow, especially in the country. And so I look at that and I bring that up because a lot of us sometimes we don't think about that in relation to our own children who have information at their fingertips at all times, really from a very young age, even if they're sitting in
They're
front of it.
addicted to YouTube.
100%.
They're
That's exactly what
addicted.
I was about to say. If they're watching YouTube, even YouTube Kids now, it used to be YouTube Kids was more educational, but now YouTube Kids
Right.
even plays anything. I mean, I guess you can brand anything at kids and you could go.
in my in my in my theme song, which I always play at the end of my thing, it talks about kids being addicted to YouTube streams. So I mention it because times have changing, and I look at it as like, we are Gen Xers, or me, you're what, millennial, but a Gen Xer, and we lived with the VCR tapes and the floppy disks, but we also are living in the digital world. So we have lived both, and so we can see, and so we know, and if we're seeing these kids watching YouTube or inappropriate things, like if I ever heard a curse word, I'd be like, my daughter go, I'm sorry, mom, I'm changing it. Like she would change it. Like she would know, like I'm not a lot. There was one, something orange. And I said, she had turned on something that looked like children's stuff. And it was about this orange character. He was an orange and he would talk terrible things. And my son goes, Mom, she can't listen to that. It's something orange. I forget what the name of it was. And it was, he was saying bad things. And I'm like, Piper, never again. She's like, I promise, Mom, I'll never go on that again. I promise. But like, you have to be aware of what they're listening to and watching, and because it's shaping them. My daughter knows 80s music, and I never taught her 80s music. She's running around singing, um, um, girls just want to have fun or something, or some real Arnold Palmer song. And I'm like, where did you hear that? And so, yeah, I'm doing a terrible job parenting, by the way. My daughter, she's like listening. she, she's 15. I mean, she's a little bit older. She doesn't have Facebook or any kind of social media pages, but she'll go onto YouTube. But when I do watch her watching, it's simple little. It's my daughter has intellectual disabilities, so she acts 8, so she's kind of got a mind of an 8-year-old, but she's not watching like terrible, nasty things. But if she was, I wouldn't allow it. But yeah, you got to be careful what they're watching, right? What they're listening, what is in there. Cause like you were listening to kids, cause you didn't have cell phones back in the day. Well, cell phones, but I'm saying you didn't have internets, the wide internets. You didn't have internet like teaching us, like you said, at your fingertips, like YouTube or all the stuff that's out there is crazy. And like these kids now are influenced by every single thing. I mean, the name influencer is like a freaking job now.
Yeah.
They're getting paid.
And they're being taught
They're
that
getting
stuff.
paid to corrupt their children.
That's it. There you go. And they're being taught. And if you're not paying attention, you're not in their world. And it's no different from. And I've heard people talk about parents, and I work with parents all the time. And one of the things that they talk about is being too controlling or being a helicopter parent and all these kind of things.
That's
And
me.
yeah, you could. So there's a fine line there, but I do believe that you could get into their world and get to like that's your job. Your job is to get to understand who they are, get to know like where those things come from. If everything they do comes as a surprise to you, for example, if they lash out and you don't understand everything that they're, or you don't, every time it's like, where's that coming from? Where's that coming from? I don't understand. Then I start to scratch my head and say, are you really paying attention to? Or are you in tune with yourself because maybe it's coming from you, or are you paying attention to what they're watching? Are you paying attention to the people they're hanging around? Because chances are it's a learned behavior. That's how our children learn over time.
Like my daughter, she doesn't, like I said, they're all like single kids. They don't know like they're not close to each other. My son's 24, my daughter's 15, my other one's 32. They're all 8 years apart or 16 years apart. And she doesn't know, I think she didn't know how to act like a teenager, and she wanted to act like a teen. And so she does things like huffing and puffing. She'll go in her room and slam the door because she thinks that that's what a teenager's supposed to do. And then she'll walk out, she'll go, sorry, I slammed my door. My daughter's so sweet. She'll come out and apologize, like, I'm sorry for my attitude. And I'm like, what was that? I didn't, oh yeah, you slam your door? Don't slam your door, Piper. But like, I don't even know what she's talking about. I'm like, what? I don't know. Whatever. She's so sweet. Like she's just such a sweet girl. And some kids though can be influenced in a more negative way. And, my son also thought that what a man would be is aggressive and loud and angry. And so that's how he kind of framed how being a grown-up is all about. And I'm big and bad and blah blah blah. Now he's learned that like big and bad will get you homeless, because I'm telling you right now, like you step to this, you're not going to have a home, because you can't live here, because I won't live in fear in my own house, put it that way.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Yeah. No, you're spot on.
Yeah. So you talked about earlier about servant leadership. And well, I don't know. How do you incorporate your raising a confident, compassionate kid? Like, how do you get him a real mentor? From the social media versus like a real How do you get them the right voices? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. So I love going out to their immediate, like their natural environment. And what I mean by that is, for example, my daughter she's 16 and she's in the band. So the first place I look for a mentor is the place where she's going to spend a lot of her extra time. All of her extracurricular activities are going to be around the band. And so start looking at the band director. That's where I start. And then I work my way through all the parents who are constantly volunteering, the ones who do like the clothing, and that there's a lot of like people who are around her, and it's just you start listening to the things they're saying, you have conversations with them, you're like, oh, this person's all right, to be around my child and probably mentor and guide her, and you
And
sort of
make sure they're
encourage.
not dressing them in hoochie stuff to be in a band. You don't want to. Can't be wearing those high shorts, sweetheart.
Yeah, that's a great thing though, because as you communicate that to your to your counterpart over there, because that's how I look at it. I think we're all supposed to be on the same page, and I know there's always going to be your outliers, your teachers or whoever that doesn't want to get on the same page. But for the most part, I believe there should be a gap that's bridged between a bridge that bridges the gap between the home and the school or church or wherever else you go.
I agree.
When you
Yeah,
go
yeah.
there, you have those conversations with the band director, whoever. Let them get to know you. If your personality, you're just like me. The first thing that somebody knows is they're going to be like, okay, I know everything I need to know about that guy in the first 5 seconds. That's just who I am. I want to
Yeah.
let people know. I don't want to sit there and try to hide something and make this too formal, because I want to get to know you as well.
There is. Okay, so I always tell people that I'm a helicopter parent. In fact, I have an episode called Confessions from a Helicopter Parent. And I kind of feel like I messed up my kids because I am. But then there's parts of me that are like, I needed to be there for all of that to make sure that my kids don't smoke, they don't drink, they don't do drugs. There's a lot of things that my kids never did. And that's because I modeled better behavior than most. You know what I mean? I didn't do all those things. Like if we went out to dinner and we were drinking, I would drink or Doug would drink. We wouldn't drink both of us. So the kids could say, I would say in front of the kids, I'd say, hey, honey, did you want to have a beer or can I have a glass of wine? I go, but one of us has to drive. And then he goes, I'll drive home. And I go, okay. I go, water for him and I'll take a bottle of wine, whatever it was. I'll take a glass of wine. And so, but we made sure the kids knew that one of us was drinking and one of us was not. If we wanted to have a wine with, and a lot of times I'd just give it to him because he works so damn hard. My husband, he's a great guy. I'd be like, you want a beer with dinner? And he's like, yeah. And I'd be like, okay, I'll drive. So the kids knew that we had a designated driver. If we ever did indulge in alcohol out in public. And another thing is I don't let them go to like birthday parties where there's drinking. Like, you know how a lot of people like, oh, we're having a big old party and they're having all these like, beer and all that. I'm like, nope. You don't need to go to that birthday party, I'm just saying. So you just have to, like you said, you just have to make better choices for your kids. You have an upcoming book, right? Or no, is this, yeah, lead last is what it's called. Is that it? Okay. Talk about that a little bit
Yeah,
and
so
what it
we already
means for our future generations. Sorry.
absolutely. So we already talked about what lead last meant, and so the way that I broke this book up, it's actually being published by Amplify Publishing Group, which is a lot different from my self-publishing world. I learned that you're not in charge of the publishing process when you go to the publisher. But one of the things that we talk about, or the things that we talk about, is just 21 counterintuitive principles for becoming an effective leader. And we broke it up in three parts. It starts off with 7 principles for getting to know yourself and growing through insecurities. Then it goes into 7 principles for getting to know those you lead. And then it gets to like the more how, like the science of it, creating an environment or a culture in which you can cultivate growth and innovation and creative ideas from the people you lead. So that's the way we use it. And I use the term counterintuitive because we talk about things like the closed door policy in there, and which I know a lot of people sort of raise hair on their necks when I talk about closed door policy instead of open door policy. But that's just one of the things we talk about. Is just a few of those things, just trying to bring those ideas out so we can become a little bit more intentional about the way we're parenting, or excuse me, we're leading.
So, okay, can I ask you a question? So this is like a parenting self-help book, correct?
It's more
Because
of a
this is not a
leadership.
children's book.
No, it's not
Okay,
a
like a
children's book. It's
leadership.
a leadership book. That's right.
Okay. Okay, so you had did you have two children's books that no, three you wrote, right?
3.
Three. And then is it a series of books or is it just they're just each little different?
It's
Your children's
technically
book.
it's technically under the Parent Child Connect series, but they are not necessarily connected in that in like the
Okay.
theme, if that makes sense.
Just curious. I'm just asking curious questions because these are things that I'm thinking people listening might be thinking themselves. And so this leadership book, is it when is it due to become out? Do you know?
So it
I
should
know
be
that's an open-ended question. So
no, that's it's spring of 2026. So that's when it should be published.
so by the
Believe
time
we're
this
looking at
airs,
April. That's right. We
this
should
will
be
already
celebrating.
be see this perfect timing. So and you know what? It doesn't always come out when it says. So by the time this is airing, it's probably just going to be out
That's right.
because publishers do not. They said, oh yeah, 2 weeks, and every it's 2 weeks, and then every 2 weeks is another 2 weeks. And I went through a publisher, so it just is like ugh. But are you going to do audio for your book?
I am, yes.
Yeah, always do audio for all your books because that is how people are listening, watching. The new kids out there, the kids on the block. This again, my error. They don't want to have a book on the shelf. They just want to do it while they're on the go. Like, you know what I'm saying? While they're at the gym or walking between classes or whatever the case may be. The kids don't want a book anymore. They want to listen to it.
Yeah, and
So
that's
you're
one
going
of
to
the
make more, and
strengths too. Yeah,
yeah,
that's
well,
one of
you'll
the
make more
strengths of
money
Lead
that way.
Last.
By the way.
True.
You make more money through the audiobooks and the ebooks than you do for I love books. Like I'm like, give me a book. I want it. I want to put it on a shelf. I want to collect it. That's just me, my generation. I like to see the cover and the spine and how good the paper feels and everything. I'm just like, I'm a textile. I like to touch it. And a lot of people are like, nope, I got to hear it. I got to hear it. Are you going to do it in your own voice or no?
I am, yes.
Yeah, you're a great speaker, by the way.
Thank you. I've been
Can I
practicing.
ask you some? Well, yeah, you've probably been in a few of these. Okay, so before we close, I was going to ask you. Well, okay, I was going to ask you a question, but I'll wait till we close. Um, do you have any advice for parent teachers and just everyday leaders? I mean, yeah, buy your book is one piece of advice, but um, what would this book apply to not just parents, but possibly like teachers, right? Or business owners for like a preschool owner would be this my book for any leader really,
That's
right? This would
exactly
be a
right.
great for any entrepreneur that's starting a business and you can be a leader, but it's really not as easy as it sounds. I own one of the largest preschools in my town, and we opened up with 140 students on day one. The day we opened our doors,
Wow.
I had not that they came in and said, "Oh, I want to be on your," like, "Oh, I got to be on your school." No, no, no. I pre-sold them like 6 months to a year earlier, and then so that the first day of school was a big thing. And you have to have some leadership skills to handle 140 children and families coming through your door on day one with a staff of 28. And had I had some more advice, I might have made different, better choices. And there wasn't a lot of this type of material out there when I started, or maybe there was, and I was just too stupid to see it. But now I see that there are different ways to peel your onion or peel your potato or your sweet potato. I don't know, different ways to peel it. And, what you think is a leadership quality or some way you want to be a leader, there's some better ways to do it. And it's good to take advice from other people. And I don't know, I'm going off on a tangent, but I'm just reflecting back. Had I had a book or something to help me, I might have made better choices as a leader. And my teachers seem to go against me after a while. They wanted what was best for the company in the beginning, and then over time, because girls are bitches and they're really hard to work with. I'm just saying, sometimes girls are not easy to work with, and they're so petty. They don't want to see you succeed. So there's ways to be a leader, and I think I screwed that up too. But I'm just saying, and this is why I'm not a preschool owner anymore. Um, I sold the business, but I'm just saying I don't own the preschool anymore. I don't know if I'd ever want to run another school. I would build a school for somebody and show them how to do it, but I am not running one. It's not an easy task.
I bet.
And
Yeah.
so if I could just apply your leadership in your like I always say I wanted to lead with, grace and ethics and servant leadership. I always said that is how I feel that I run my life. It's even on my LinkedIn page. If you look in my little bio, it's kind of like my mantra thing, but those are ethics. Those are things that I take, my moral things, the compass that I was lit. My dad was really hard worker, very hard worker. And I think that I take my hard work that I learned growing up, and that's what I wanted in other people. But then I just realized as I got older that not everybody's built like me.
Hmm.
And also now in the current vibe of the world, we've got boomers, Gen Xers, millennials, and Gen Zers, and they're all in the same workforce, and,
Hmm.
and they are all different.
That's right.
They are all built different. Like I can drink out of a hose, but I know my son would be like, "What the hell? Go inside and get a glass of water." And I'm like, "We weren't allowed inside." Like I couldn't go inside. I had to use the hose, and if I didn't have a hose, I had to go to the neighbor's hose. Like I'm just
Hmm.
I'm just saying we're all built differently, and having a guide to help us through and is special. So I'm glad that you came on and shared all. Did we get to all the points, or did I skip a few of them? Because I think I talked a lot. So
No, I thought that was perfect, and I love that
I know
you.
people are like, it's probably hold on. I was gonna tell everybody. I always say they go, "Is this gonna be like a half an hour?" And I'm like, I don't know. If I start to talk, it's probably gonna be like an hour because that's how I am. I can't help it. I talk too much. But anyways, what were you gonna say? I totally stepped on what you were saying.
No, I'm sorry. But what I was saying is, I love that you talked about that. What you're talking about, lead last, and that's exactly what the book is for. It's a concise guide, very concise. I tried to keep all the fluff out of it, and my developmental editor did a phenomenal job of helping me trim the rest of the fat. But I studied some other leaders, Satya Nadella, who's the CEO of Microsoft. I even looked at Howard Schultz, the prior CEO of Starbucks, and things of that nature. And even Elon Musk and some of the things that he's done with his company, because he has some successes that we can learn from. And there's a
Yeah.
lot of things that
He's a
we're trying.
smart freaking dude, by the
Yeah,
way. I'm sorry.
yeah, but he's
I love
very
Elon.
smart, and he's about to be potentially the first trillionaire. There's something that we probably can learn from him. Yeah, so it's one of those things
I hope
that
you're
we.
listening, Elon. Send me a trillion or send me a billion. I can take a billion. That's fine.
Yeah, just 1 billion.
Just
That'll be
saying.
fine.
I'll take a million. Okay. That's it. Okay. I'll take a million. That's it. That's as low as I'll go. Sorry. I'm just messing with you.
Yeah, that's
I
something that
don't, why did
that's a lot to learn
I
from.
totally stepped on what you were saying. I'm a terrible host. I just stepped all over your words.
I love it because it's just a conversation. But
I
yeah,
know.
that's one of the things that we're learning, that it's just, there's a lot of people we can learn from, and a lot of things that we can apply. And so that was one of the things that we tried to do at Lead Last. Take it, put in a concise guide. Of course, there's going to be an audiobook. And then I sent it out to a lot of different people. So the feedback that I got was spanned from everybody from you're talking about Gen Zers to millennials. Obviously, I am one, to some of the Gen Xers who are VPs of some of the senior companies here in DC area. And so there's a lot of people who've taken a look at it. And of course, I had some senior military officers look at it, and they all gave their input and feedback. And then that's how I was able to consolidate this thing and send it out to Tommy Spalding and Marshall Goldsmith. So a lot of thought leaders have endorsed this book, which again, this is one of those things that sort of blew my mind. I didn't expect them to even respond to me, let alone endorse the book.
You
But
know what? You've got a resume that is glowing. Let's just put it there. All the things we talked about that you've been through, you you are deserving of like the platitudes. Like you are special. You just don't know it. You are. You're special. You are. You've been through so much. A military person is not it's not an easy job, and there's a lot that goes into it, and hard work and dedication, and you got to stick to it. I mean, and just think you're an author, and you're definitely a dad, right? But you're going to have a great retirement. You've traveled everywhere. I mean, you've got so much you should be so proud of yourself. I'm proud of you.
thank you so much. I
See,
appreciate that.
you could be my kid. I'll live my kids I can live vicariously through you because I think I screwed up mine. But I love my kids. I love you, but my kids aren't watching, so they'll never watch. Although I do say that these podcasts are like something that they can have when I'm gone. And so it's, they'll see my mom was so stupid. Look at her. She's so, like in a fun way. Like my friends always say,
Right.
God, Jessica, you're so dumb. But they're saying it funny because they think I'm stupid funny, and they laugh at me and I laugh at myself. I just want to say thank you for coming on and shooting the breeze and giving us a little bit of I mean, I really unpacked your whole life. So I appreciate you being so open and honest about everything. And your stories are interesting. Where can people find your books right now? Are they on Amazon?
They are, yes. So if you can search my name, Olaolu Ogunyemi, you'll find it. But really,
Like,
the
okay,
best,
whatever. Like your name.
the
Like,
best way to
just like,
find me, yeah, is parent-child-connect.com. That's the best way to find all
okay,
my books and everything there. Yeah.
but then again, the easier way, people, is go to my website at jesssaying.net. Go to podcast, scroll down, find this episode number. You know what it is because you're listening to it right now. Go to the podcast, click on his name, and Lou's name. Sorry. And then I'm a terrible host. Okay. And then click on his name. It'll take you directly to his website, directly to it. So if you can't remember the things that we went through very quickly, just go to my website, find his name, this episode, click it, and you're in. You're in like Flynn. Thank you so much for coming on to my little show.
Thanks so much for having me. This is awesome.
It was fun. You're a fun guy. You're a fun guy. See, that's a dad joke.
I
You
was
could
just about to
use
say,
it.
and I'm not even a mushroom.
It's so funny. But a bunch. Okay. All right, everybody out there, thank you for staying to the very end. If you're having a good, just remember, be kind to everybody. I mean, we only live in this world one time, and that's it. I mean, you don't want to be on your deathbed. You're like, I wish I was kinder to people. So just remember to be kind to one another. Have a good day. Have a good night. Whatever it is you're having right now, have one of those. And I'll see you next time. Bye bye.
Gather around when the sun dips low, talking about the days we used to know. VCR tapes and dial-up tones, raising kids living with achy bones. Leather jackets and big hair days, now it's carpool lines and PTA. Neon dreams turn into schoolyard fights, but our hearts glow in retro nights. We are Gen X, living both worlds. From cassette tapes to a digital world. Parenting now with a nod to the past. The retro love we know will last. We are Gen X, living both worlds. From cassette tapes to a digital world. Parenting now with a nod to the past. The retro love we know will last. We dance to the beats of the boombox sound. Now bedtime stories echo all around. But deep inside we're the mixtape kings, still fighting life with arcade dreams. Feeding families with a pizza slice, telling tales with a side of advice, laughing at the way it used to be while